What's going on, everybody? Welcome back to the Legacy of Star Wars, your one-stop shop for all things Star Wars. I know people are probably like, "Hey, you guys didn't do a trailer reaction to Skeleton Crew," and like, I don't think the thing dropped till almost midnight. So when I saw it, I'm half asleep, one eye open, not feeling great. It probably would have helped Channel Analytics, being it's a new channel out, to do it. But we're here today to talk about the Skeleton Crew trailer, the Mandalorian and Grogu, our favorite title of a Star Wars movie. Um, we're going to talk about the footage that they showed for that. And there was the Darth Jar Jar thing too, the Lego thing. I haven't seen anything on that, but it does seem like they have a pretty good cast. Uh, for that movie. Is it a movie? Is that right? It's not a series, right?
It's usually it's a Lego special that they've done like in the
Oh,
past
so it's
with
like a
like
holiday
Halloween
sort of thing.
yeah.
Okay, gotcha. And then really they didn't show anything for Andor 2, too early for Ahsoka 2. So really it's just with Skeleton Crew. So before we get into the trailer itself, which we'll play without audio, um, Randy, how you doing? And what did you think of D23?
I'm not doing too bad. I think there was not enough Star Wars for my liking. That I figured that if they were gonna reveal anything major other than what we already knew, it would have been then. I did like some of the Marvel stuff that came out of it, and even I'm excited for the fact that even that Tron Ares is that much closer to being released because I enjoyed Tron Legacy a lot, and the original obviously I love. But other than that, it just felt kind of flat for what I would expect out of Disney. Um, Other than that, I mean, I love the fact that we got to practically see the full Red Hulk with Harrison Ford's likeness on him, which was really cool. I thought that shot they had was actually really well done, so that just kind of hypes me up a little bit more for that movie. But yeah, Star Wars wise, I was kind of disappointed.
I mean, Disney showed off a bunch of cool shit, and we'd be here for like 3 hours if we talked about all the Disney stuff that they showed.
Yeah.
But yeah, Star Wars was light. Let's hope that Celebration in Japan. I don't even know when it takes place next year, but it's next year in Japan. Delivers more. Kieran, how you doing, man? You treated yourself to some Star Wars goodies.
Yeah, I'm doing all right. I'm actually feeling a little iffy today, but yeah, I bought the 7-in-1 game for the Switch. It's got the Jedi Academy and Jedi Outcast game and the Knights of the Old Republic 1 and 2. It's got Commando, which I've never played, and it's got Racer, which I don't know if I'll ever play. And I honestly, like, I probably could have, like, I paid $80 for it. I paid the full price for it, and I didn't really want to, but I was like, whatever. It'll be fun. My son will like it, whatever. So we'll see how it goes. I played a little bit of the, I guess it's the Jedi Academy game either way. I don't, like, is that the second one? Jedi Academy?
That's the
Yeah.
third one.
That's
Jedi
the third
Academy,
one?
the third
It's
one.
technically the third one, yeah.
Okay. Yeah, I played a little bit of that one, and it was fun. It was pretty fun. You get a lot of force powers right away, so you'd like jump in and you're doing all sorts of barrel rolls and throwing lightsabers at people like right away. There's no like slow build up to all these things, so it's pretty cool. It's almost like when you play Force Unleashed, which is also on that, and you get to play as Vader first and just do whatever the fuck you want. So, although I did die quite a few times because I'm not good at video games. Anyways, fun. It's been fun so far, but I've really just like cracked the surface on it. And some games I've played, and some games I haven't. So maybe I'll give a report on it next week.
Yeah, I love Academy. I was telling Kieran off the air that I think Academy is probably one of my favorite Star Wars games to play through. A little light on cutscenes, but the lightsaber combat. I can't speak for how it is on the Switch. I don't know because I think they fine tuned the controls on the re-release, but I think you're going to have a lot of fun with it. I don't remember too much about Jedi Knight 2 Jedi Outcast.
The port is really good. I can tell you that much. It's, like, it's very responsive. Sometimes you play games that are old games on new, and like they're just not. They don't respond the same way. You can't do combos the same way you could. It happens sometimes, especially when you play like third-party stuff that comes out. But it plays really well. It's been fun so far. The player is not very good, but I feel like it's not the controller. I'm not going to blame it on the system or anything like that. It's just me. I'm just not that great at video games. So I don't really play video games.
The one game that's not in there because it's a fairly new release, but I do think it came out on the Switch, is the Dark Forces remaster, which is obviously a hugely popular Star Wars game from the 90s, and it was actually highly regarded. They apparently kicked ass with that remaster. I have not had a chance to play it yet, but I think Randy has.
Oh yeah, I've sunk quite a bit of time in it. It's fast paced. It's fun. It's anxiety driven at times because you're just swarmed by stormtroopers half the time. It's so much fun. I missed it, and I'm glad they did a nice remaster of it because it needed it. It's one of those games that helped kind of launch that. I guess you want to say extended universe of Star Wars into gaming, because a lot of the stuff we had was, movie based. So getting something like this that was outside the movies was awesome. And now that we get to relive the beginning of Kyle Katarn, which is always fun, I'm still waiting for him to someday hopefully become canon, if that ever happens. Doubtful, but
yeah,
I'm hopeful.
It's funny when that stuff happens because that's the feeling when I did that and I saw Kyle Katarn in the game and I saw Luke Skywalker in the new, and I was like, oh yeah, and then like I was like, oh yeah, he plays Jaden Korn. I remember that, and like all this stuff, and I'm like, oh man, like one of my favorite Star Wars characters is Corran Horn, and he's not anywhere in live action, right? And like yeah, it's kind of like, oh yeah, this, oh yeah, that, oh yeah, there's a whole other story here. I remember how that goes. It was very. So I feel like that's probably the way you feel when you played that game, is like, oh yeah, that's right. There's a whole other, and this happens, even though we know in canon now, 10 years after something else happens, but in this canon, I remember 10 years after this is what happens.
I think Corran Horn's mentioned in Jedi Academy. I believe he comes up. He might even have a brief cameo. So,
well, and Jaden Korn is actually in one of the books, the Legacy books.
Actually, he has his.
Was it Fate of the Jedi series? He was in that, and
he's in Fate of the Jedi. And then what people don't know, because they weren't like well marketed, is I believe he has one or two of his own books. I think one's called Cross Current, and if you do get attached to that character, you're gonna want to go read that novel because I don't want to spoil anything, but like in terms of figuring out where that character goes and what he or she does, it's definitely a novel you want to read. Didn't even know it existed. Tommy B told me one day. I was like, "What?" I'm like, "Are you sure? Is that not fan fiction?" And I Googled it. I'm like, oh shit. It's not. It's real. So it's definitely worth checking out. Let's dive into this though, guys. The Skeleton Crew trailer, I'm going to bring it up. There will be no audio, so apologies for that. But let's just try to enjoy it. Or hate on it, because everything is terrible.
It's not my Star Wars.
Yeah, I know somebody who would say that. All right, let's go.
You can tell the vibe they're going for with this, eh? Like they're like, you heard that it was going to be like a Goonies, Stranger Thing type of thing, and yeah, you can feel it even in the trailer.
No, for sure. How do we feel about
one shot where the girl flicks down her visor and whatever? I think it's coming up here. It's just like it totally goes with that vibe.
Just had a little shot of Earth in Star Wars, basically.
This one here, yeah.
which I don't mind. I see people nitpicking that, but it's like it's a huge galaxy. There's got to be some planet that resembles Earth.
Right, exactly.
You could, I mean, yeah, I don't know. I never get the nitpicking about that.
This feels a little ET here. I haven't seen ET in a long time, but
I saw that in some articles that the way the town feels and some of the shots they show, it had that ET vibe to it.
definitely a little bit of a Spielberg feeling.
Yeah, I get that.
And I like that the menagerie of creatures they're showing is like it's not just ones we're familiar with, it's a bunch of different new stuff we've never seen, which is always a good thing.
I like the I guess so. The elephant looking character is the same species as Max Rebo, and everyone's complaining because apparently he plays the piano with his feet and not his arms, and that species may or may not have 2 or 4 limbs, and there's a big controversy about it. But
Of course there is. Of course there is.
Yeah, I don't know. They're saying like, if you get toys of Max Rebo, then he has arms and legs, but like apparently the puppet was actually like didn't have any arms, like it had a torso with no arms, and he was playing with his feet. So, and then different people who work for Disney or Lucasfilm or all that had different opinions on it. So, I don't know. Whatever. It's like a whatever problem. It's one of those problems people will blow up out of proportion, but it's really a whatever who gives a shit problem. So
I'll say this before I give my opinion on what I thought of the teaser. It's important to note that this show was originally supposed to be out last November, and it's not like shooting got delayed. They had all the footage then, and what happened was they're not thrilled with some of the child performances in the show, and it's hard to dissect them out of a 100-second trailer, but because of when they shot the show and some growth spurts and some scheduling, it just became impossible to do reshoots. So they elected to move it past The Acolyte. And then like originally they were talking about would Ahsoka debut or would Skeleton Crew debut? And they did Ahsoka last year. And then we got The Acolyte in the spring of this year. So make no mistake, it's a messy project. That being said, some of the best movies, I emphasize movie, that have ever been made are made in the editing room, right? So like if they gave themselves an extra year to try to chop this thing up and make it watchable, and cut out whatever their issue was with it, then kudos to them for taking the extra time. Like it's not easy to delay a project an entire year despite you having everything you need to release it. When I see this trailer, it looks good. Like I have no complaints. My expectations are low, obviously, but I have no complaints on what we got from it. And, it takes place during somewhere around Mando season 3 and Ahsoka and all that area, in terms of the timeline. But I think it looks visually really fucking good, which is not something that's said often about Star Wars projects anymore. And I like the tone. I've never seen Stranger Things, and I am not a fan of the Goonies. But there's some real E.T.
You've never seen Stranger Things?
I have never seen Stranger Things.
You should probably change that. Just saying.
Yeah,
I've had a lot of people telling me that. Eventually, we'll get around to it.
Randy approached this in a very nice way. I'm going to say, what the hell is your problem? I know you have time because you've watched other things and probably rewatched other things. So, what's going on? What is this?
I think it just got so far into the series that it was like, I'm gonna wait until the final season is about to come out, and then watch it, and then go right into the final season.
So I'll say you're not that far off.
Believe it or not, that's how I watched Sons of Anarchy. I missed the entire run, and then watched it one weekend when I was sick, got hooked. I'm not like a motorcycle guy. Little did I know the show's so much more than that. And I had finished season 6 like maybe a month and a half before season 7. And it was like, oh, okay, so that works. So I'm going to do the same thing with Stranger Things. It's not like, oh my God, I never want to watch it. But I've seen some footage of it, obviously, and I get where the connections are being drawn between the two things. But I really like what we saw. I'm cautiously optimistic. Kieran, what about you?
Yeah, I'm really optimistic, and you know me, I try to drown out the noise, and you know, a lot of people are saying, hey, it's been reshot, and it's been, or not, it hasn't been reshot, it's been edited and whatever, and because it's been held back, there must be lots of problems. There's been lots of strange reports out there. I won't even bother, going into all the things that people make up. Yeah, I try to ignore all that noise, and I take a look at what I'm actually seeing, and it looks cool. It looks like it's going to be one of those projects that kind of could exist outside of the Star Wars universe, but they're going to put a Star Warsy theme and background and things to it, and like it'll take place in the Star Wars universe very obviously, but it might be a story that could have been told outside of Star Wars. Being as Darth Vader's not going to show up. There may or may not be any lightsaber fights at all. You know what I mean? But it looks cool. I like the visuals. A coming of age story type of thing, an exploration type of story is something that we haven't really got a lot of. So I think it looks cool. I dig it, and there's something I really like about the Jude Law 5 seconds we get too. I don't know what it is that he's doing specifically, but it seems like it doesn't seem like he was just like, hey, I'm Jude Law, like I'm in this movie. He seems like in a character. He does everything, like he does what he does for 5 seconds seems interesting to me. I don't even know what I can pin that on, but
That's
obviously
funny,
he's a great actor. He's
I
not,
was gonna say it looked like he goes, hi, I'm Jude Law.
yeah, well, he reveals himself, but I mean, he looks in a character. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I know the one character, the one child character says, "Oh my God, you're a Jedi." I don't think he's going to turn out to be a Jedi, but I do think he's a Force user. Clearly,
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. We'll see what happens. Yeah, like I said, I can't even really pin down what I like about it, but it seems like he's in a character at that point, and so I'm thinking that somehow it's going to be an interesting character. At least I don't know. He's not great in everything he's in, but he's a really good actor. So
basically, all I want is a cohesive adventure. If they can do that and it looks good, then I'm sold.
that's where the bar is now.
That's where the bar is for me. Yeah. Randy, how about you?
So, like you, I like the look of the trailer. I like the feel of it. It definitely gives me that, I wouldn't say Goonies-esque, but it definitely felt like a Stranger Things kind of thing. But also some of the shots were really cool because, real world locations, and so that helps a little bit as well. Obviously, at the end, I know I griped in the chat a little bit. I'm like, they could have actually just saved that for the show rather than showing it in the trailer. You could have shown Jude Law, but don't have him using the Force. That way, it's a surprise because when you look at the synopsis, it doesn't say he's a Jedi or a Force user or anything like that. It just says he's trying to help these kids basically, and that's it. This could have been a huge holy shit moment because you wouldn't have expected it. And I feel
but they're trying to appeal to all the people that don't want to watch shows without Jedi characters.
Yeah, I know.
Let's not forget Kumail Nanjiani also used the Force, so he didn't really turn out to be Jedi either.
What
So
what a
we'll
Jedi
see.
he was.
But what's funny is, Jude Law got to be a wizard in Harry Potter. Now he gets to be a space wizard in Star Wars. The back end of his career, and he wants to be wizards. I mean, good on him. I mean, but I get it. Jude Law is going to be a bit of a selling point for some people in general because they just like him as an actor. Hopefully,
Wait,
the
hang on.
story,
Did you say Jude Law's in Harry Potter?
the Fantastic Beasts trilogy that
in
they
the
did,
Fantastic
he was
okay.
Dumbledore.
I'm sitting here going, who the fuck is Jude Law in Harry Potter?
As I'll say, yeah, the Fantastic Beasts movies. Yes, he's Dumbledore, so he's a wizard there and space wizard here.
I haven't seen
But
those yet either.
for fuck's sake. Anyway, yeah, I think as long as the story's good, I mean, it visually looks appealing. Hopefully they don't do what they did with the music, what they did with the Acolyte, that one episode that just completely pissed Sean off 100%.
I want them to do that again.
And 2/3 of the fan base.
Yeah, that too. Just keep it simple. Give us that Star Wars feel music. Give us a good story, and the visuals look good so far. But
You don't want Eminem and Machine Gun Kelly to pop up and like rap battle each other at the end of the episode?
I have no problem with that.
You wouldn't.
You're right. You're right. You're catching on, Randy. You're catching on.
If it opposes Sean, you seem to be, all for that. So
we sometimes me and Sean do hey, what do you think of that? We're gonna say it on 1, 2, 3, and it's like the opposite. Sometimes we're like, I wonder if there's a thing happening here where I just end up hating it because you like it, and we'll give our opinions quickly about something. Nope, they're just different. We just like the opposite thing all 90% of the time.
There's this rumor that they might end up in where Ahsoka and Sabine are.
Yeah.
So
given the timeline that you said, it would make sense if something like that happened.
Kieran's gonna just love this show if we get to the end and they end up being saved by Force Ghost Anakin and Hayden pops up.
I'm okay with the existence of Anakin now, and I think I think they properly put him in places where he can fulfill his duties now. I don't think they've asked him to do too much. So
I almost feel like it's this is a little off track now, but when you look at Anakin the character, it's almost like he's sentenced himself with the bad shit that he ended up doing with, all right, well, no, I'm not gonna rest. I'm gonna help in any possible way I can.
Still trying to redeem himself.
Yeah, well, he'll be at it for many centuries with what he did. So
yep. Remember the younglings? Yeah, about that. You're gonna be at this well, buddy.
I wonder if he's like an outcast in the Jedi Ghost world.
You kill fucking kids. What's wrong with you, man?
He goes spy, and people are always like, that fucking loser. It's like
at the end of the Return of the Jedi Certain Point of View novel, there is 1 or 2 chapters where after he dies, because we're all like, well, how the fuck does he become a Force ghost? And it's essentially Obi-Wan. Obi-Wan catches him before he's completely crossed over and guides him through it. And Anakin wants to check on Luke and Leia, and he's all worried if they're going to be okay or not. And basically he's doing the same fucking shit again, not willing to let go. And Obi-Wan's like, listen to me, please. For once, you need to just let go. They will be fine. And
it's almost as if he was a shitty Jedi the whole time.
it's a really moving moment, and you get to go through his journey briefly into becoming a Force ghost, and yeah, it's cool. Anyways,
The prequels suck.
Sorry, did you say the sequels suck? I agree. All right.
Anytime someone goes over that, and I'm like, they just let Anakin do all this shit. Mace Windu just got to do all this shit. Like every time I go over it in my head, and I do like the movies. I watch them. I got plenty of problems with them, but I watch them all the time. But like, someone reminds me of all the shit that Anakin did, and they were just like, yeah, I think he'll be okay though. I'm like, those movies suck. God damn it.
Jensen was watching The Rise of Skywalker yesterday, and I'm like watching along with him, and I'm just going, holy crap. Like, thinking to myself, I feel bad for ever bashing Rian Johnson. Like, oof. Oof.
I would have much rather seen where he would have went with it.
I agree. You know, it's easy to say that.
It couldn't have been worse.
No, I don't think so.
It definitely
we would have had Broom Boy.
Like
Whatever happened to that guy?
Everybody would have complained about where it went, but it couldn't have been worse. So,
you mean you didn't like
we're way off topic. This is my fault. Sorry.
The 2-hour fan fiction take on Dark Empire. Anyways, speaking of movies, though, despite them being very early on in the filming process, they debuted footage for our favorite movie title ever, Star Wars: The Mandalorian and Grogu, which will hit theaters May 2026. And I got to see some of the leaked footage. And essentially what it is we get a flyover of Navarro, which is where he lives, the Mandalorian and Grogu. Seems like there's some bad shit happening there. And then I believe, again, you never know with Star Wars, there's a bunch of sand planets and a bunch of snow planets, and it's easy to say it's this one. But I do believe that we go to Hoth, and that we're on Hoth, and we see a couple of AT-ATs, and Mando and Grogu are trying to, I don't know if it's fight them or escape them. And then it looks like Mando is walking through Echo Base. You know, it looks as spot on to Echo Base as it could, which is why I think it's Hoth. Not so much, oh, it's snow, it means it's Hoth. It looks like he's at Echo Base. And then the only other major shot that everybody's talking about is we see Mando, Grogu, and Zeb from Rebels piloting a Razor Crest. And Zeb has a quick quip before Mando gets off the ship. But the footage looked really, really good, and for it being early. And the press release basically implied, if you're worried about this being only a stagecraft movie, it is not going to be that. Yeah, we'll utilize that, but we're going to go out on location and do, big shooting and stuff like that. It's going to be a combination of them both, because obviously there was a real worry from a lot of the fan base that, hey, are you just giving us a 2-hour episode of The Mandalorian on the big screen? Because it's probably not the best way to come back to cinemas after The Rise of Skywalker, and it'll have been 7 years or 6.5 years since that release. But it looks good. They didn't announce any additional cast, which is really quite weird. We really don't know any of the cast at this point. You guys didn't get to see it, but just thoughts on, going back to Hoth, Zeb being in the movie. Seems like, at least for an act, he's going to play a pivotal role. General thoughts.
I mean, Zeb is a great character in Rebels. His arc was awesome, and I'm glad they're getting to get a chance to use him again. From what you're telling me, I'm excited because we always go back to Tatooine. Always, it's time. It's time to revisit some other planets, and the fact that we're going back to Hoth, I'm not against it. Especially considering the fact of, like you said, they are redoing. It looks like they redid Echo Base, or at least what remains of Echo Base. So I'm really curious as to his reason for having to go there. But yeah, if everything's going down to, from what you've seen, it sounds like they, going to different locations and giving us some familiar stuff and maybe some new stuff. The fact that you said it's a Razor Crest, huh? That's kind of neat. That they find another one or have another one ready to go.
Might be Zeb. Zeb is the one piloting it, not Mando
Yeah.
or Grogu.
Yeah, so there is that. Hate the fucking name, but I guess we're stuck with it at this point.
You know what? I have a comment for this name, though. I know it sounds stupid, and I totally agree with you guys, but I think it might be the way to go marketing-wise.
That's probably the
Because-
real reason they're doing it.
For all those people who didn't give a shit about anything except for Baby Yoda, those people are going to get a Star Wars movie's coming out. Like, what's this one about? And then all these, people who don't give a shit about Star Wars otherwise altogether are like, it's a Baby Yoda movie. Woo! Let's see him eat some frogs. And they'll pay their money, and they'll get more money for it. And, Deadpool, Wolverine, all these sort of funny promos they got to do for that. They'll have a Mando and Grogu back to back on a poster. It's a dumb name, but I'm starting to come around to maybe that was a good idea just for the sake of money, which they could use right now.
Yeah, you're not lying about that.
If this
It
could be
does.
really successful, it could be very uplifting for the Star Wars universe.
It does appear, from the footage that leaked anyways, that the Imperials are the villain of the movie. I don't think it's going to be space pirates as the villain of the movie, which probably lends to the very strong rumors of Thrawn being in the movie. I don't think he's going to be all over the movie. I think he's going to be the tail end of the movie, because remember, this is movie 1 and movie 2 is the Filoni movie. So, not that it'll be the second one released, but in terms of following up on this movie, it'll be the Filoni movie. So, it'll be interesting to see what they make of it. Again, it's leaked footage. It's so hard to see on someone's cell phone camera, but from what I did see, everything they showed, it didn't look like any of it was stagecraft. It looked like they were on a big set, and then the outside Hoth shot, obviously with the AT-ATs, is either done with miniatures or CG or whatever.
If it's done with miniatures again, that'd be amazing.
Well, that's how they filmed the Razor Crest to begin with in the first 2 seasons of Mandalorian. It'd be cool if they went back to that. So,
can you imagine if Zeb, Din, and Grogu are on the Razor Crest and they get pretty much captured by Thrawn? Thrawn comes over the loudspeaker and Zeb goes, "Wait, I know that voice." Like, you can have that recognition from Rebels for that, just to have the look on his face of going, "That's not possible."
yeah, because not a lot of people would know he's back at this point. It's still very much just the Imperial remnants running around. We've seen, was it Mando 3, where Pelion shows up and tells them, "Hey, chill, Thrawn's got a plan here." Problem is, I think this is still all leading to, big picture. We'll do this on another episode, but I do feel like this is all, sorry, 1 second. I just got an update, and I thought it said Steven Spielberg will close out career with new Indiana Jones movie. It did not say that, but something close to that. Anyway, I still think in the long run, this is all leading to whatever's left of the Imperials and whatever is available for the New Republic battling a different foe, a different take on the Yuuzhan Vong. I think Ahsoka season 2 is gonna set that up with what's going on with the I don't even remember their name now. What's the Mortis? That's it, the Mortis stuff.
Yeah.
What's going on there? So,
yeah, because season 2, she's pretty much gonna have to stop Baylan from trying to, I guess, destroy the Force or something, because that's kind of what felt like he was trying to do. So, yeah, it's because I think Baylan's probably going to be the main protagonist for season 2 while they try to get back, because they have to stop Thrawn, or they think they have to stop Thrawn.
That'll be a Star Wars celebration thing.
Yeah.
Next year. I mean, Thrawn, if you pay close enough attention to Ahsoka season 2, Thrawn basically says, "Hey, no, we need to get the hell out of this area. There's real bad shit happening." So there's definitely a big picture thing at play, but I think we're going to be made to believe that, oh, hey, it's Thrawn versus the New Republic to some extent, and I think it's going to end up being like it'll be that for a bit, but it's going to be something bigger than that. Yeah, so you guys have both mentioned the title certainly seems ironclad. Seems like it's Star Wars, The Mandalorian and Grogu. We've got a brand new title card for it. Do you guys think this movie will be successful? Because all like they need a win here. I'm not talking about you or I or Kieran enjoying it, but like, will it be mainstream successful? Because if it comes out and it's Solo again, or it's received like The Rise of Skywalker, Star Wars is in trouble. Like, there's a lot of pressure on this movie, which, to Kieran's point earlier, probably the reason why they're sticking with the title.
I think it'll be at least semi-successful at the very least, just because people will be like, "Oh, Grogu, we're gonna go see Grogu," but then it'll also be the diehard fans who at least kind of like us, who kind of understand there is a bigger picture, and this is the start, really kind of leading in. It's the first movie kind of starting to lead into that. So I just feel like it's the Grogu alone is going to make it some money. I feel like they'll probably sit there and be like, we could do a video game tie-in with this. Please don't give us something original. But ultimately, this is like one of the first things that movie wise that Filoni gets to really kind of sink his teeth into, even though he's not the director, but still he's going to have his fingerprints all over this. So I'm not too worried about the story, since everything's going to have to gel to fit into his vision of what he was trying to do with Ahsoka, and bring this grand design together of this is what everything's leading to. So I think it's going to be technically sound. I think we're going to get some really cool visuals. And I think it's going to be, at like I said, bare minimum, semi-successful, more successful than Solo. Will it be $1 billion movie? I don't know. It really is going to depend on are Star Wars fans ready to get back into theaters, or was The Rise of Skywalker coupled with Solo and then some of the TV stuff? I mean, is that just, did it kill people's interest? And I guess we'll find out once those first trailers start leaking.
I mean, it's really hard to stop the train going when people are enjoying bashing something, which is right now people are more enjoying saying, oh, well, this, they killed Star Wars, it sucks, it's all that and whatever. Like, it is really hard to stop that train once it starts going. And like a lot of, it's the same where all fans of wrestling, AEW is having a hard time turning that around. People are they're having fun making fun of it right now. Wrestling fans are having fun quite often being like, well, it'll never be as good anymore. And it's hard to reverse the train on that. Or same thing as Marvel. Like, I have yet to go see the Wolverine and Deadpool movie. I have Wolverine tattooed on my arm, but I'm burnt out on Marvel. It's really not my number one priority.
You need to go.
I know it's a great movie. And I will see it. And I was going to go see it maybe even tomorrow, actually. I had plans to maybe see it tomorrow.
You know what I'd say, though, Kieran? Like, you said it's a great movie. And I do think, I know you haven't seen it yet, and most people regard it as a great movie. But you know what I call it? A fucking fun movie.
Oh, yeah.
There's not going to be a bunch of swearing in a Star Wars movie. And I think any Star Wars movie that's titled The Mandalorian Grogu is not going to have the, the tone of Empire or Revenge of the Sith or anything like that. But if they make it a really fun 2-hour movie where it's not a complete goofball, but you're having laughs and the action's good and you get a couple of cameos or whatever, that to me should be the goal, because if it's really fun, people will go see it.
That's right where I was leading. Is that really in a way they don't like normally you're like, hey, we got the Star Wars fans, we need to just pick up the casual fans. I feel like it's going to be the reverse in this fact, because the Star Wars fans might not go out, but they might be like, yeah, it's probably stupid. However, if the casual fans are like, oh yeah, let's go see the Baby Grogu, the Baby Yoda movie, and then it's a fun mix of adventure and fun, and every once in a while, Din is shooting people, and the action is great, while Grogu is like accidentally killing people with something, or doing something stupid and joking in the middle of it, and they throw maybe some sort of character in there that's a little bit more comedic relief at the same time. And if they do it right and it's fun, and it's fun like if it's fun like Guardians of the Galaxy, if it's got that sort of, it's got lots of action and heartfelt stuff and all the drama, but it's also very goofy and light, and the average person can just enjoy it. I think if it's comparable to that, if they can make something in that vein, then I think it'll be very successful, because then I think Star Wars people will all be like, oh, well, I should go see it, I guess. And then you will get the casual people. So yeah, I think actually it's the reverse. You got to get the casuals first and have them enjoy that movie, and then you'll get the Star Wars people back.
You mentioned earlier that it's probably not going to have a. Sorry, you mentioned earlier for Skeleton Crew that's probably not going to have a lightsaber battle, which I agree with. It's probably not. Well, I don't think you're going to get that in Mandalorian Grogu either. But the one thing Star Wars really has not done well outside of Rogue One is give us a badass space battle that doesn't feel like it's on fast forward. And this is primed to be exactly that kind of movie that could give you that. Maybe it's not the stakes of a Death Star coming at a planet or something, but it could be a big space battle in an asteroid field or whatever. What I want to do.
I was so excited for that other movie that didn't happen.
Oh yeah, yeah, that was primed to be that, and it never happened. So
even with Solo, the Kessel Run, that scene was actually a lot of fun. Even though we knew there were no real stakes at it, it was still it was awesome to see Han take control of the Falcon for the first time, and him and Chewie both piloting through that thing. Like that was a lot of fun.
It was, but they did the typical new Star Wars thing, where it's like, instead of dragging it out and building suspense, it's you blink and it's over. You got the Rock almost crushing them. Like it's not a lot of time. Like it's about 90 seconds to 2 minutes on screen. I got news for you. You go back to like Empire and the asteroid sequence, that goes on. Like I just showed my kid that the other day. It's like 6 minutes long. And
one of my favorite pieces of music too.
Yeah. And like they need that with their space battles. What made A New Hope so great is the suspense of it all. Right? Even Return of the Jedi, not my favorite Star Wars film, but that space battle at the end, just absolutely fantastic.
It's really cool. Yeah.
I want you guys to both give me a prediction. Yeah. Any prediction you want for the movie, something that happens in the movie, something that we can expect to see. I'll go first, then Kieran, then Randy. I think there's going to be some sort of team up in it. I don't think you're going to get necessarily Luke Skywalker in the movie. I wouldn't rule out seeing the Millennium Falcon, as they just announced, and I didn't know this till today. They announced that they're changing they're adding to the Disneyland Millennium Falcon Smuggler's Run ride, where you go up on the Falcon, and they're adding a Mandalorian and Grogu part to that, which will coincide with the movie. And that makes me go, oh, so are we going to see the Falcon in the movie? Could be an easy way to shoehorn Han in there or whatever, Han and Chewie. But my prediction is Boba Fett is going to pop up. what's the other Mandalorian's name? She's from Clone Wars. I'm blanking.
Oh, Bo-Katan.
Yeah, it's same name as my daughter, and I blanked. Yeah, Bo-Katan. If he has availability, probably Cobb Vanth, Timothy Oliphant, because at the end of the day, you can put masks on people. This is still a movie going into theaters, and Pedro Pascal's obviously not going to be shown very much in this. You need some movie stars somewhere in your movie, so getting Timothy Oliphant on board seems like a no-brainer. And hey, we'll probably get Mercedes, whatever her name is,
Yeah,
and she won't be completely
Mercedes
fucking
Moné.
cringe like she is in AEW.
Coscarees. I don't know what I would predict, to be honest. I can't really think of anything. You know what? Here's my prediction. There'll be a female baby Grogu, and it'll be even cuter, and they'll make lots of merchandise of it, and everyone will hate it.
Can we call it Baby Yaddle?
You can call it whatever the fuck you want.
Randy?
That would be interesting. I mean, it would definitely move some merch if they actually went and did something like that. Let's see.
If that happens, we're clipping this shit out of this podcast.
We called it first, damn it. I think that we will get to see, and it's probably a given only because if they are on Hoth, I think we're going to get to see a bit of a battle with a Wampa, just because it'll give that nostalgic feel of Luke having to escape from the Wampa's lair, and maybe that's something that they'll have to do is journey there. Maybe there's something that has to do with maybe Force visions, or kind of like, I'm trying to think of what was it, like what we've seen in like Jedi Fallen Order or Jedi Survivor, where there's like these Force echoes. Maybe Grogu is attracted to them, or there's something there that it's helping him learn and expanding his knowledge of the Force. Who knows? But I think we're just going to end up. I think we'll probably get a nice little Wampa battle. Could be multiple Wampas. Who knows? That seems to be something that helps show just how powerful Grogu is, and it makes sense given the location.
You know who I could see popping up in this movie now that I think of it, and there's no reason for him to be in this part, but I just think another character to put back in it is Chrysanthemum. I think people would love to see him again in something. He's a cool, badass looking thing, and it's almost like that Simpsons episode where Homer's looking at the little tiny guy fighting outside, and like, as soon as he's going to do something, that's how everyone felt about him. Like, he's going to do something really cool. We haven't quite seen it yet, but so I feel like he could randomly fit in there for some reason, and visually he's a cool character, and
maybe we'll get a him and Chewie moment.
Yeah.
I think you have to consider all the Disney Plus characters that are still in the known galaxy, like Fennec, Chrysanthemum, Boba Fett, Cobb Vanth, even Ezra, Hera. I think all those guys are probably on the table. I mean, Zeb's already in it. We know that for sure. So
I'm sure we'll get some of them, and then we'll get the other half in the Filoni movie. Really,
I think we're gonna get a lot
in the
Filoni movie. So,
he'll put every single one of his fucking stupid characters in there. So, dead or alive, they'll all be there. So he can jerk himself off.
It's gonna be the Infinity War Endgame of Star Wars. You're gonna see just a bunch of everybody in there. Let's move on here in the last 10 minutes of the episode. Move on to gaming. Randy wants to talk a little bit about Star Wars Jedi Survivor. But first, I want to bring up a gaming idea I had. So there's all this talk for years that Star Wars gaming is just not doing well. We don't get a lot, and you think the movies get canceled a lot, the games get canceled even more. Knights of the Old Republic 3 has gone through development hell. Only in like the last 9 or 10 months have they gotten back on track by getting rid of Embracer Group. And then you have the Jedi Eclipse game, which we may or may not, Star Wars Eclipse game, which we may or may never see, which is a High Republic game basically a choose your own adventure game, which I would love to have. Ton of canceled projects. We had Battlefront 2, we had Squadrons, and then we've had the Jedi games basically. You got the Star Wars Hunters. Like when you compare that to what we were getting from LucasArts back in the day, it's a far cry. I'm playing this game with my kids last week, and it's like Super Smash, but it's like all Nickelodeon characters, right? And I didn't even know it was a thing, and so we're playing. I'm like, I haven't played Super Smash in years, and I'm like, oh, this is cool. And then it just hit me. There's a character with a sword on there. I'm like, why the fuck do we not have a Star Wars game like this that is super easy to make? It can be, 4-player, couch play or 4-player, online. You could even up it to 6 or 8 players. Like, that's a super easy game to make with hundreds of Star Wars characters to choose from. And those games do well and just nothing. I would
To be
play the
fair,
shit out of that.
there's a lot. So there is a lot of successful games with that same formula. I know the PlayStation All Stars one was cool, and I like that one as well. There's a few different ones. There was a Disney one not too long ago that did not have a lot of success, from what I understand, because it disappeared fairly quickly. But if you go and look at a video game store, like old used video games, you will see a lot of video games like that you've never heard of. So I would say, I can't say this because I'm not a super big video game guy. There's got to be, like, I wouldn't say there's immediate success to it. I think there's a lot of people who would be like, if it doesn't play well and it's not done well, it's not going to succeed just because it's Super Smash Star Wars. Like, the idea is not going to do it on its own. Because there's a lot of ones. I mean, like I said, I think the Disney one wasn't really that successful. It was free, and then you had to pay for extra characters. I know that Arya from Game of Thrones was in it. What else did they have? They had a whole bunch of random characters. I don't know, but there was lots of cartoon characters and stuff in it too. Anyways,
are you talking about Disney Infinity?
It's a Super Smash Brothers game for sure.
Huh. So I know Disney Infinity had like a bunch of Star Wars characters, their characters, and stuff like that. But I don't think it was like a Super Smash type game. I don't even remember even ever seeing a Disney Smash type game. I mean, I know Multiversus is another game like that that's come out that has like Scooby-Doo and Jason Voorhees and all these other different characters from all these different properties. But
I'll have to go and find out which one it is. But anyways, there's a whole bunch of them that are not successful. So I wouldn't say it's going to be successful for sure, but
I'm not saying
I can see
$100 million into it. I'm saying for a low budget option Star Wars game, rather than trying to do these big games that take 4 or 5 years to come out, and it seems like 75% of them get canceled. I'd have a ton of fun playing with you guys on that. It's something you could live stream too, and you could do your episode and just dick around on it. So many different level possibilities, and think of like Mustafar on platforms, and if you fall off, you fall into the lava, and it's just I'm stunned that at least now there is one Star Wars game like that. Now that I think about it, some form of the Nintendo, I think it might have been GameCube, got the first or the second Force Unleashed game, and it had a multiplayer to it, but the other 2 consoles didn't get that, which is stupid. I don't know why. But like Star Wars has never had that. Period. Hell, give me another Rogue Squadron game. I'd play the shit out of that.
Yeah,
and I'm not
just make Battlefront 3. Just make Battlefront 3.
Not happening apparently. Not in the cards. So I know EA and DICE pitched it, and Lucasfilm and Disney said no. That's not the direction we're going. So yeah,
it'll happen again sometime.
Speaking of Star Wars games that people might want to try, I've played a little bit of it recently. Randy, we've been waiting to talk about this for a bit. Star Wars Jedi Survivor, man. Why should people give this a shot?
I mean, if you're looking for a game that has a pretty solid story, really good battle mechanics too, like the lightsaber mechanics, and this is an upgrade from Fallen Order. And you don't have to earn all your force powers right off the bat, which is nice. Obviously, they give you refreshers, but it gives you an idea of kind of like where Cal Kestis is after the end of Fallen Order, what he's done, how what the group has done. Um, it gives you little snippets into how everybody went their way and did what they needed to do and how they've changed and grown, which is always really cool. One of the nice things about this game, even though it's not something everybody likes, but I like the idea of going out and collecting things and building things. Like you can actually have it this one, I don't know what type of race he is, I'd have to look it up, but this one dude catching fish to add to your aquarium at this bar that that's kind of neat. I like that idea of just kind of as you go along, you're collecting things and you're building up the bar on the prime world that you pretty much is your hub for the most part. And but again, the story is good, the mechanics are good. You get a little bit of backstory in some of the High Republic stuff, and that's one of the reasons kind of when we first chose it was because literally when we got to see the bleeding of a kyber crystal, it made me realize I was like, this is a real they did this in Jedi Survivor, showing a guy from the High Republic, I think it's Dagon, that came back and he gets so upset after being thawed and realizing where he is. You instantly watch him bleed the crystal. And I was like, that was so cool because I'd never seen it before. And because I didn't read the comics, I didn't see what happened in the comics when they did that. So this was a first for me. And again, like I said before, like the force echoes that Cal can sense, and you get to hear these little snippets of the past, and it's really cool in the sense of just some of the world building they do here, and the worlds are expansive. They're not, even though I've only been to I think 3 or 4 different planets so far, they're just vast and they're beautiful, and the music is so good, and it's the graphics are just phenomenal. I mean, I can see why this didn't come out on some of the older consoles and that this was, next gen, which is technically current gen now.
Let me
Yeah.
jump in for a second. They announced this week, and that's changing. It will be available. So if you have, I guess it would be PS4 and Xbox One, they are going to get a version of that game soon. If you don't have a Xbox Series X or a PS5.
Yeah, would have only had to wait like another extra year plus to get that. That's
Yeah.
all.
I'm just saying for the people that can't afford it, it's a great
Yeah.
option for them. Like it won't look as good and probably won't run as smooth, but
Yeah, they really did take their time with this, even though, at the beginning there was a lot of patching, a lot of issues with, I think, with PC more so than any of the other than the consoles. Which that's always seems to be the issue with a lot of these games nowadays. It seems like the PCs have the more issues with these games than the consoles do because they're specifically made for consoles anyway. But yeah, the mechanics, the force abilities, just the overall feel of the game, the things you can do, it's a lot of fun. And I've spent hours just going around exploring the different planets just because you can go just about anywhere.
I would say I've only played the game minimal, but I've seen the whole cutscene movie on it. Story wise, if you're a High Republic fan, you're going to like the story that they tell in this. It's not like they're just touching on the High Republic. The High Republic is a just massively significant part of the story of Jedi Survivor. And you might be going, well, how the hell did they make that work? Well, it was a very good reason. I don't want to give away any more than that, especially Kieran, if you get a chance to play it. I think that
Yeah, I
you
want to
would,
play it now. My
uh,
interest level just went up quite a bit.
yeah, they they knocked the story out of the park, and
Mhm.
there's some big twists and turns in it, and some high stakes, and some stuff from Legends, some stuff from Ahsoka, They reach into a bunch of baskets in that game and really truly deliver in story. My nitpick is the same with this game though as the last one, Jedi Fallen Order, is it gets really repetitive at times with the let's do the same climbing motion and walking across this tightrope pole thing. Like it happens too often. Um, but other than that, um, it's it's probably the best Star Wars story game we've seen in 15 plus years.
And the
Yeah,
thing is
honestly, I did like the first game, and I did play it, but a lot of times it's just hard to get me to play video games. I'm not very good at them. If I die a bunch of times, I'm like, I remember I kept dying from some animal on on like your home planet thing that you go back to, and I kept dying from it, and I was just like, whatever. Like this game's stupid. So
There's an easy mode. That's what I've been playing on where it's not too hard, but to me the biggest problem is figuring out where to go sometimes. Sometimes that can be a little difficult, but if you have time, that's also a great thing because you're searching around and exploring. But I think you get through the easy mode okay.
Yeah, and there's a lot to do in the game. So I mean, there's between different side quests and things like that. And if you're that type of person who's a completionist, there's so much to do that it's just a lot of fun because you can take bounties out on people. There's bounties that you can collect on people. There's stuff you can collect for like a garden up top one of your bar. Collect fish for your bar. You can collect. I mean, there's stuff you can do with a bunch of different scanning you can do with BD1, who has more functionality this game than he did in the previous installment, which is great because there were just so many things I wish I could have done in the previous game that would have made sense that they added it in this game. And you're just going, wow, this would have made the first game so much easier. So it's ultimately,
If sort of cut you off, Randy, but
go ahead.
if you've played the first game and whether you played it all the way through or you watched the cutscene movie of the first game, you're probably sitting there going, well, the second game goes a very predictable route with the story. And no, they don't do that. If anything, they Ryan Johnson it and go in a completely different direction. And it's not like, hey, let's get the friend squad back together again right out of the get go.
you just said two things. You just said that the game is very good and the story's very good, and you just said they Ryan Johnson did.
Randy, correct me if I'm wrong. I haven't gotten this far yet, but I believe you don't only play as Cal in this one. I believe you get some time as that other character.
In this game, other characters assist you. I mean, you're playing as I haven't switched to a different character yet. I've always been playing as Cal, but there's instances where certain characters assist you along the way, and you can give them commands on things to do to kind of help you get through certain areas. It can be difficult at times because it's not always lit up perfectly where you got to go, what you got to do. But there are some really wild ass scenes where you're being assisted by someone, and because of the way things are going, things are moving so fast around you. You're just, the anxiety level is through the roof. I mean, but it's fun. It's just like this whole crazy thing of going, man, I've never seen a Jedi do this before. This is crazy. I mean, it's just that it's one of those things where they take things and kind of not turn it up to Force Unleashed level, but damn near close on some things.
Yeah, I strongly recommend it. Whoever has the option to pick it up, even if they have to wait for the Xbox One, PS4 release of it, which we'll try to give you that information next episode. Definitely take a shot at it. It's definitely worth it. That is going to do it for our episode tonight, though. Ladies and gentlemen, please take a moment to like, comment, subscribe after the fact if you didn't tune in live. Kieran, what do you got going on? Any final Star Wars parting thoughts here?
No. I'm gonna get on seeing that Wolverine Deadpool movie. Other than that, like, it's weird. In between, like, the Acolyte's over, and you're kind of like, I got some downtime now before I can, I guess I'll be playing a bunch of Star Wars video games now, though. So
Nothing wrong with that. Randy, how about you, man?
Not a whole lot, but yeah, Kieran, you're right. It's weird. No Acolyte, no House of the Dragon. It's like, what am I going to do with myself other than play games? That's kind of been what I've been doing. Obviously, after having this nice little discussion about Jedi Survivor, I feel like need to get back to that and finally beat it. I think that's where I'm going to put a lot of my focus gaming wise. But also I'm trying to been on social media a lot, just trying to, boost the presence just to help by, sharing the tweets and things like that and reposting and liking to help us out too. So hopefully get a little foothold there, because that'll be fun if we can get a nice little group together.
Yeah. I was terrible on my live stream. I did a Jedi Survivor, and I'll do another one eventually, and I'll probably be terrible again, but it'll be fun doing it. I still need to go and beat the Phantom Menace re-release, which I think I got to Tatooine on that one. So, long way to go still in that game. If you haven't yet, check out our other content available on the Legacy of Westeros YouTube channel. This upcoming Monday, we are planning a big roundtable wrap-up season 2 finale. Not just the season 2 episode, but season 2, the season as a whole, and what the future looks like for Westeros. Also check out our Haddonfield and Beyond channel, formerly Fandom Empire. We did a stream yesterday. Halloween's got a couple of video games coming. One comes this October. It is a side scroller, Super Nintendo style Michael Myers game. And then there's a bigger Unreal Engine 5 one coming in TV series news to follow shortly after. Fandom Haven will be doing predictions very soon on AEW All In, WWE Bash at Berlin, and I suppose AEW All Out follows quickly afterwards. So tune in to that as well. But for now, that is going to do it. And we'll see you next time on the Legacy of Star Wars. May the Force be with you.